That's another change in the user interface, per se. Now, other user interface changes can actually be inside of an actual function. And so let's look at the expression system, because this is where we've made a big change to the user interface for the expression system. So let's go into Tools, Expression, and this is what the new interface looks like. We can actually, I've got this set, I think, to less. Let's put it to more, where the out of the box will look. Actually, out of the box it's less, but anyway. This is what the new expression interface looks like. Now, a lot of people say, gee, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet. I wonder how you use it. Well, how do you use a spreadsheet? So let me make sure I got my settings yet. Okay. Oh, let's leave that one open too. So let's say I want to edit. There's an expression up here called blend. I want to edit it. So it's 10 millimeters right now. Just double click in there and start editing. So let's make it 15 millimeters. So I just made it 15 millimeters. Nothing happened, by the way, because I have down here delay expression update. So editing the expression does not cause anything to happen. I didn't hit apply, I just hit return. But you notice the orange? Well, why'd that turn orange? Well, it turned orange because it's a pending change. See, if I put my cursor over the top of it, you'll see it says the expression change has not been updated in NX. It's what we call pending. Well, why did this one turn orange? Well, because it uses the blend. So technically, when I edited that one, that expression also changed. How many times have you had a model open, let's say 100 expressions, you edit one of them, and you wonder to yourself, I wonder how many changes I've actually made to my model by editing this one expression. There was really no way of knowing. And you notice when I change this to 15, this says this is basically 15 divided by 2 is 7. We updated this number, so you get to actually see what the new value is. And there's an option to say only show the pending changes. There could be dozens of these in your model, and I can say, I only want to see the pending ones. Then I can sit here and actually start playing games. I can come over here and say, well, let's make it 20 and see what happens. See, so I do 20, and I see. So I could watch all these pending changes occur, and then when I say go ahead and apply, well, they're not pending anymore, so we just bring up the normal list, and we turn off the show pending down here. So this is the new presentation. Now, this is a table. I can make it larger, smaller. I can take these columns and I can expand them. Make them, larger, smaller. I can also, there's an option here to say make them as large as they need to be, or you can, bring them back. We've got the scroll here so that you can get to them if they're, longer. You can also control the content of this. I can turn off columns that I don't want. I can reorder columns. If I decide that I want to put my comment column up here closer, okay, let's put the comment column up here now. So I have control over that. Now, this is called the sash right here. So the stuff on the right side of the sash is what we call movable, or actually, let's put it this way. The stuff on the left side of the sash is what we call fixed. Those two columns are fixed. Name, formula. You always have to have them. You can't undo those. You can't remove those. Those are necessary. And so we're just going to leave them there. You can control the width of them. Again, they're like any other column, you can control the width. But they're always going to be there to the left. The ones to the right are the optional ones. You can turn them on and off, you can move them around, so on and so forth. And so that's the kind of the scheme. Now, while we're at it, we decide, let's do a few other things. We've had a lot of ideas over the years. Well, here's one. How many people out here make string expressions? Ever make string expressions? Okay, so I'm going to make a string expression. I'm going to call it test. And I'm going to go out here, and so I'm going to go, this is a string. So I put it inside of quotes. That's how you do a string expression. Now, if you were to do that today, just like I did, and hit return, this message would pop up. And it says, a string was encountered when a number was expected. Some trash like that. And it'd be an OK button. And you'd hit the OK button, it would wipe out everything you just typed in, and you'd have to start over. And you'd have to remember to first change this type from number to string. Well, today I just hit return, and it says, gee, he put in double quotes. Gee, I wonder what he was doing. Maybe he's making a string. Okay, I'll just make it a string. How many people out here have used a list expression? I'm going to something called list. And list expressions, you use squiggly brackets. So I'm going to do 10, 15, 20, that's my list. Close, squiggly bracket, hit return, says it's a list. Here's another one. let's say I decided that I need an expression where I'm going to take P6 and multiply it by P7. So I've got one out here that I'm just going to call Lent, and it's going to be P6 times P8, or P6 and P7. P6 and P7. Now, over here, it says this is a length. Again, if you tried this today, you'd get this thing comes up and says something about dimensionality doesn't fit. So I just push this. You notice it changed length to area. If I had multiplied 3 lengths times each other, it would have turned it to volume. If I had come in and, anything that it can figure out, the form, the dimensionality, it will automatically put the proper dimensionality in it based on what you're doing. If you divide, a length by a time, it's going to change it to velocity, because that's what velocity is, length over time. So we've got this all worked out. Now, here's another one. While we're doing this, we might as well take care of this one. How many times have you ever gone in and you're typing away, you're creating a formula. Oh, this formula is 100 times P6 plus XYZ. And you hit return, it comes up and yells at you, a variable is found in which there's no expression, some ridiculous thing like that. So we do that now, and you see what happens, it makes it pink. It lets me type it in, perfectly all right, or a typo, might have been a typo. Maybe when I said P6, I said E6 or something, something like that. So it's a typo. So now I come down here and say, oh gee, XYZ, I haven't done yet, so XYZ is going to be 100. So XYZ is going to be 100. I hit return. Now when I hit apply, see, everything is now okay. It's copacetic. So we'll let you type in, we'll let you make typos, we'll let you put in formulas that don't exist yet, but we're going to make it pink. You will not be able to update. It'll give you a warning if you try to update while that thing is set in that status, and so on. And so, this is going to be worked this way. Now, you notice these are all cells too, see? So if I come down here and I take, let's say, these right here and I say copy, and then I go over here and I start Excel, and I take and I say paste, you see it pasted into the cells here. And if I make a change here and say, well, gee, this one I really want to be 80. Let's say I'm more comfortable working out in a spreadsheet, making changes to my, my formulas and so on. And then I come down here and I select this and say, okay, copy this. Now I'll go back to NX and take those same things and say paste here. You see, now my 80 has been so if you're more comfortable working out in a spreadsheet to put all this stuff together, or maybe somebody's already written a whole bunch of formulas, you can just copy and paste them from the spreadsheet directly into here. Since it's a spreadsheet-like, it's not a spreadsheet, but since it has the characteristics of a spreadsheet, like columns and cells, we can do that. Now, just because it does have columns, you can't do a double click and sort based on that column. We don't have that kind of capability, because sorting and so on is a kind of a different rule here. We have the ability to sort. It's usually based on the name, or like in the case of alphabetic, or timestamp. This is the order in which they were created. They could be also done by value. Again, now we're going to look at the value and the smallest value, and then I can reverse it so the largest value goes up here, the smallest at the bottom. So we still have the ability to do sorting. And of course, we still have the option of the source. Do I want just the named ones? Do I want all? Do I want so on and so forth? But we've also enhanced the filtering. The filtering now used to be I could do things like I want to see all the ones based on a feature type. So I could say all edge blends, and we'll toggle that on so it's in effect, because these get remembered during your session, not in your part, but during your session. And then I could say by value and say anything that is 20 millimeters. So let's see if I got any. So okay, I have a blend that's 20 millimeters. So that's an edge blend. See, it's an edge blend. So I filtered it both by type and value. So the filtering is much more granular, much more control over it, and we remember those filters during your session. So I could be working in one part filtering, go to another part, open it up, and those same filters will be ready there for me to reuse during that session. So that'll be quite useful, we think. And then I can just turn those off and we're back to normal. And so, okay. So that's kind of what we've done with that. Now we've got one other one which we're kind of playing around with. This one is a little tricky. We're not sure how far we're going to go with this. But let's just take that. Let me go back up here and sort by alphabetical. Remember we have blend up here. I'm going to type in the word blend, B-L-E-N-D, underscore options. That's a key word. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make a list. So I'm going to say 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. Close curly, curly brackets. Hit return. It's a list. But what's happened? Oops, I misspelled options. I misspelled options. Options. There we go. Now this has been converted into a list. So I can now pick. Now it's not an enforced list. We're still working on whether maybe we'll have different keywords to an enforced list versus a suggested. This is a suggested list. Which means you can type in a different number if you don't like the ones that are on the list. And this is now also opened up for us sort of, if we do this, and this is again just a little bit of a prototype at the moment, but this is some of the ideas we're working on now that we have this format, is exposing that list now at the feature level. So when I go to edit that blend, not in the expression system, but somewhere else, wherever that might be, I'll get offered that same list. So this could be quite interesting for adding better design intent to your model. So think about that. Okay, so and again, this is a user interface project. Okay, so we've done that, console. Also something that's not really user interface, but I want to mention it. We've also provided the ability to lock a part file with a password inside of NX, so it's controlled by NX. You do not need Team Center for this. In fact, it's done in native. And the files are password protected. They can only be opened inside of an NX session if you have the password.
What happens if you forgot a password?
Then you're hosed. There is a master password which you have to create at the same time. It's a way of overriding, but again, remember it because once it's encrypted, we can't unencrypt it. We did that on purpose so as to guarantee the security of the files. It's for you to use.
But is it handy because nobody can?
And you can set them to be like read-only. So if I set a file to be read-only and I send it to somebody and say, here's the password for opening this read-only file, when he opens it, it is read-only. He cannot save as, he cannot change the name of it, he cannot save it. He's stuck because that file is encrypted down to the OS level. Or you could say read-write, or you could just give him full privilege. So those are the things. It's minor, but some people have asked for it. And after we showed it to the beta testers, they said, give us an option for turning this feature off. We don't want to give people the ability to encrypt all the files in the system and then walk away with the password. So it will be under the control of the administrator. Okay,